said.
LeBron may be getting close to making his debut for his 23rd NBA season. LeBron was reassigned to the Lakers roster Sunday after practicing and scrimmaging for 4 days last week with the South Bay Lakers, the team's G League affiliate. LeBron will practice today with the Lakers. A decision could be made to put LeBron in the lineup for Tuesday's home game against Utah. LeBron has been out since training camp with a sciatic nerve condition in his lower back and left leg. The Rams took over first place in the NFC West after their 21-19 showdown win over Seattle at SoFi. Seattle kicker Jason Myers missed a 61-yard field goal attempt at the final buzzer. The 8-2 Rams intercepted Seattle quarterback Sam Darnold 4 times. The Chargers were embarrassed in Jacksonville Sunday. They lost 35-6. The Chargers dropped to 7-4, 2 games behind Denver in the AFC West. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let me be clear about what we're witnessing here. A textbook case of talking about communities. Instead, we think it is neither fast nor fair, but when we organized the community town hall, Southern California Edison first confirmed participation and then abruptly canceled. There was no time available on Mr. Pizarro's calendar for a face-to-face conversation with the individuals and families who have lost everything due to the negligence of Southern California Edison. This is not an accident. This is a choice about who deserves direct engagement and who gets managed through press statements. When you talk to the LA Times about people, you control the narrative. You get to frame the issues on your terms, with your spin, filtered through journalists who may or may not push back. But when you show up to a town hall, you face real questions from real people experiencing real problems. There's no PR buffer. There's real accountability. This pattern of being available to corporate media, but unavailable for community dialogue, sends a clear message about whose voices matter and whose don't. It's the kind of disrespect that hides behind busy schedules and prior commitments, but the community sees right through it. If these issues are important enough to discuss with the LA Times, they're important enough to discuss directly with the people living them. Anything less isn't just disrespectful, it's a fundamental failure of leadership and accountability. Mr. Pizarro says in the LA Times interview, I need to go to the supermarket in Pasadena or Altadena and be able to look people in the eye. We want to do the right thing for our community. You had a chance to look folk in the eye at our town hall meeting last week, but you didn't show up. And then we invited you for a one-on-one conversation here at the station, but you have yet to confirm. So please, please stop with the gaslighting. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback. Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me Back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, it's Monday, so Dr. Cornel West is here with his unique take on the world on the top side of hour two. Look forward to that, as always. On the B side of hour two, a look at the impact of the pushback on DEI, specifically as it relates to students, teachers, and school administrators. Dr. Dakota Irby unpacks his new text, Doing the Work of Equity Leadership for Justice and Systems Change. In hour three, two more conversations. Up first, Emory University scholar Karita Brown on her latest book, The Battle for the Black Mind, about the struggle to define and control the education of African Americans and shifting societal attitudes in various forms of systemic exclusion. And then we'll be joined on the backside of hour three by Congressman James Clyburn, who also has a new book out. It's called The First Eight, a personal history of the pioneering black congressman who shaped a nation. James Clyburn today on the backside of our final hour. But we commence today's show in conversation with the executive editor of The Nation magazine, John Nichols. John, how are you, sir?
Tavis Smiley, I'm very well just because I'm hearing your voice.
Oh, man, I'm all the better for hearing yours, and I'm grateful that we have this hour. There's a whole lot to unpack on this day. As I often say, in our business, as you well know, it's either feast or famine. And some days, there's just more stuff to get to than we have time. But let's make the best of this hour. I think I want to start with this. Obviously, it is one of the trending stories today. So, and I'm trying to understand this, and that's why you need somebody bright like John Nichols, who covers this stuff every day, to break it down for you. So Donald Trump has done a 180 and now says that House Republicans should, in fact, vote to release the Epstein files. He goes on to say, we have nothing to hide. Now, 20,000 pages already out there, my last count, like 20,000 pages. And the storyline is getting worse and worse and worse for so many people. I was just reading a piece in the Harvard Crimson about Larry Summers, their former president, and the piece in the Crimson is even worse than what the New York Times has written so far. These students at the Crimson just dug in. So it's Larry Summers, and there's a long list of folks, as you well know, who are getting the business, as it were. The more of these emails come out. But to your mind, just for start, I got 2 minutes now, and we'll get the rest of the hour to unpack this. But in the next 2 minutes here, what's behind Donald Trump now encouraging Republicans to vote for the release of these files, saying we have nothing to hide? What's that spin about, John?
You ever see one of those movies where some figure, some star, some prominent person recognizes that everybody's going the other direction and they run to get to the head of the parade? So it looks like they're following.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Look, the reality is that we've got a couple things going on. First and foremost, it does look like there's a majority of members of the House, mostly Democrats, but a handful of Republicans, perhaps more, who were ready to vote for a resolution calling for the release of all the files. Made this central to a lot of her communications, and she's a very good communicator. You like her, dislike her, agree with her, disagree with her, but she's very good at being heard. And she's been on CNN, she's been in other places talking about this. The president clearly is upset by what she's saying and how she's saying it, but I do think it's indicative of something deeper. And as a result, I think the president decided, for a variety of reasons, that because this is going to happen anyway, and because some of his traditional supporters are really breaking with him on this, that it's better to just get on the other side.
Yep. So Donald Trump has done just that. Put his finger to the wind, saw the way the winds were blowing, has run out front, and now trying to act like he's leading the parade for these Epstein files to be released. You just heard John mention Marjorie Taylor Greene and CNN. Indeed, she was on CNN with Dana Bash yesterday. I'll play some sound of that conversation for you when we come forward. Just getting started in this hour, talking all things politics with John Nichols, executive editor of The Nation magazine. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
This Thanksgiving at Total Wine & More, find bourbons and Cabernets that you adore. Our helpful guides are so friendly and nice, so many bottles to try at the lowest price. So gather with friends as you sit down to eat. Grateful for all who made Thanksgiving complete.
With curbside pickup and delivery available and the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation, your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at kbla1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community-focused. So just go to kbla1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapor Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapor Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and John Nichols, executive editor of The Nation magazine. John, one of my favorite guests. Always look forward to him coming on because I know his insights are going to be worth wrestling with. So John mentioned a moment ago CNN and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Indeed, she was on CNN with Dana Bash yesterday. There are a number of clips we could have pulled here. This is one I pulled, or my team pulled, in part because we found it interesting for a lot of reasons, which, John, I can unpack after you hear it. But this is Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican of Georgia, who Donald Trump is now sick of. I think he called her a weirdo. Is that the word he used? I think it was weirdo on his True Social. So Marjorie Taylor Greene was his girl for the longest time. And now that she's been calling for the release of these files with other Republicans, John mentioned earlier, and let me just put a number on this. I'm seeing all kinds of. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has said there will be many Republicans. That's his word. Many Republicans who will vote for this measure, this bill to release these files, this motion. And I've seen others suggest the number could be as high as 100. Again, so we don't know what that number is, but there are more than one or two Republicans who are prepared to vote for this. Donald Trump has torn his draws, as it were, with many in his MAGA base over this particular issue. Anyway, here's Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday on CNN with Dana Bash.
Congresswoman, you posted on X that President Trump is, with his comments, fueling a, quote, hotbed of threats against you. Obviously, any threats to your safety are completely unacceptable. But we have seen these kinds of attacks or criticism from the president at other people. It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed at you.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism. And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another, and we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people, because as Americans, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we have far more in common than we have differences. Yeah. And we need to be able to respect each other with our disagreements.
So, John, I ain't gonna lie. I spilled my drink and fell out of my chair practically. I'm watching CNN, and I heard those words come out of the mouth of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I did a double take and a triple take and a quadruple take. I could not believe I was watching Marjorie Taylor. As you know, Donald Trump now calls her Marjorie Trader Greene. He has a nickname for everybody, right? Now she's Marjorie Trader Greene. But before I go any further, what did you make specifically of that clip? You see why I pulled it, of Marjorie Taylor Greene expressing herself in that way, given all the toxicity that she's been brandishing around for years now.
Absolutely. Look, she's been one of the most controversial and I think she might even admit toxic members of Congress. She's said outrageous things and generally done so from a very right-wing perspective. But I think there's something important to remember about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is a relative newcomer to national politics. Mm-hmm. There are very few people as prominent as she is who have been in politics for as really short an amount of time. And so we shouldn't be shocked that she might evolve, right? We generally see people evolve politically, kind of at earlier stages in their career, along the way, et cetera. But I'm willing to accept, and I'll be interested in what you say about this. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to accept that there are some political figures who, for a variety of reasons, kind of come to a set of different perspectives, right, that kind of open up. Yeah. That doesn't mean she becomes a left-winger, even a moderate, but what it does mean is that she is exploring different ways to communicate and to also approach issues. Remember, she's someone who's spoken up on Gaza. Mm-hmm. She is someone who has spoken up on a variety of issues in different ways in recent months. And she was very, very early on this Epstein stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that she, like Thomas Massey from Kentucky and a few other Republicans, are exploring a new approach, right? A different approach than just saying yes to everything Trump says. It's fascinating. Before I got on the phone with you today, I was talking to an Italian newspaper that was asking, what's going on? How is Marjorie Taylor Greene suddenly, in conflict with Trump? But I think this is something that is very significant, because if Marjorie Taylor Greene speaks for even a small portion of the Republican caucus in the House at this point in our history, when their majority is so tiny, this could become one of the more significant developments in recent political history, because it gives her and people who might align with her, a small group, the ability to force the president's hand on some fundamental issues, which we may well be seeing with the Epstein case right this week.
Yeah. You said a moment ago you're anxious to know what I think about this, and I'll give you my response right quick. Speaking of Republicans, you recall when Ronald Reagan uttered that phrase, trust but verify?
Yes, I do.
That's where I am.
Oh, I respect you.
That's where I am. I need some more
Brother,
verification.
I'm going to assign myself to your camp.
Yeah.
I'm going to join you. I will join you in that camp.
Yeah.
But I will tell you still that as journalists, we have a responsibility and, frankly, a curiosity in a case like this to look at whether something significant is moving.
Sure. No, I think you're right, and I want to talk about that part. So I accept what she said yesterday. Nothing she said in that clip that I disagree with, but I need to see more, and I'll wait until I see more before I accept that Marjorie Taylor Greene has either seen the light or felt the heat. So I'm going to hold on that, but I appreciate again what she said yesterday. Now, back to your point, though, about whether or not there is some movement here. When the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and I haven't quite seen this yet, nor have you, none of us have, frankly, on any other piece of legislation since Donald Trump's come to the White House, we have not seen any legislation where the Speaker has said publicly, oh, no, there are a bunch of Republicans who are going to support this. I'm paraphrasing. And again, there are others who suggest that number may be 50, 60, 70, 100 people. But the point is, on this particular issue, which is why you said brilliantly Donald Trump has jumped out front, acting like he's leading the parade by calling for Republicans to vote for the release of it, that we have nothing to hide. And now that they have his permission to vote for it, that's how you get to 100 or more people who may, in fact, vote for it, because the president has given them now license to do so. But he's doing that, as you well know and have said quite eloquently, under duress. So let me just ask you point blank. Does this, and I'm not just talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm talking about all these Republicans who are going to vote for it. Does this particular issue suggest that we're starting to see the beginning stages of some daylight between Trump and Republicans in the House?
I think we have to divide the answer to that question into two groupings.
Okay.
There's a very small grouping that may be putting some daylight between them and Trump. They're led by Thomas Massey, the congressman, the very libertarian-leaning congressman from Kentucky, and he's been willing to do this on a number of domestic and foreign policy issues, often aligning with Congressman Ro Khanna, a very progressive member from California, not just on Epstein, but also on some war and peace issues, Venezuela, et cetera. And so I think there's a few of those, right? And Marjorie Taylor Greene may be moving into that camp. She'd be a very prominent figure. You may see a couple others. However, I do not think that by any means you should imagine that if 60, 70, 80, 100, most Republicans vote in favor of release of the files, that means that there's a big change in stance. Remember, they're doing this after Donald Trump says it's okay to do so. Now, it's true, maybe Mike Johnson was saying there would be, a reasonable group that would have done so anyway, but we don't have the facts on that. All we have is a situation where, there was certainly some dissension, but the number that you see when and if a vote occurs is going to reflect permission from Trump. And so the bottom line is this. I think where you want to look at the measures of whether people are willing to stand up for Donald Trump or stand up to Donald Trump, right? I think you've got to look at the shutdown fight. And in the shutdown fight, which was huge and highly significant for so many reasons, we were having trouble flying across the country, things of that nature. And we had people going hungry. We had, this is a real issue. You just didn't see much Republican movement. So I think
how do you explain to voters why the president is fighting your discharge petition or fighting the release of these documents from the Justice Department?
Well, I vote with my party 91% of the time, and which means I have agreed with the president 91% of the time. But when they're protecting pedophiles, when they are blowing our budget, when they are starting wars overseas, I'm sorry, I can't go along with that. And back home, people agree with me. They understand, even the most ardent Trump supporters understand sometimes he gets bad advice, sometimes he gives bad advice, and we wouldn't model our lives after him, his personal life, and they're okay with that. I mean, you can still like Donald Trump in Kentucky and like what I'm doing and what Ro Khanna is doing, which is trying to get transparency.
There's Thomas Massey out of Kentucky saying what they're ultimately trying to get here is some transparency. Let me circle back to Donald Trump one more again, and I'll push forward for some other things I want to talk to John Nichols about in this hour. It's not all Epstein files, but there is one additional question here. So when Donald Trump gets out front, to use your metaphor, John, and suggests he's leading the parade because Republicans are going to vote for this anyway, it's going to pass. These files in toto, are going to be released at some point. So Trump gets out front and says we have nothing to hide. That's his quote. We have nothing to hide, and encourages Republicans to vote for this. My read of that is this, that Trump and his team must have seen or looked at all the rest of these emails and have reason to believe that the worst of the emails about him have already been released. We saw days ago, we discussed it on this program late last week when this came out, that Epstein says in an email, Donald Trump, I'm paraphrasing here, Trump knew what I was doing. He knew what was going on. He spent hours at my house with a particular person, woman, child, whatever. He spent hours at my house with this person, paraphrasing that email. But that's essentially what Epstein said, that Trump knew about this. He was at my house for hours hanging out with somebody. All right. So that's out, and we've had days to sort of chew on that. Now, as I said earlier, the narrative is engulfing other people, Larry Summers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that if Donald Trump gets out front, leads the parade, and says, release the files, we got nothing to hide, yeah, I take your point. He wants to act like, he's always been here, and he hasn't. But there must be some sense that he has that the worst of stuff about him has already been released. That's my read. I could be wrong. What say you?
I think what we need to see is whether when and if a congressional vote occurs, the Department of Justice, which Trump and his White House effectively run, the Department of Justice and the people associated with it and in other agencies say, yeah, sure, here's the files, right? Or do they say, oh, there's still some complicating factors.
Right.
New elements of this case have come up. New questions have arisen. We can't release them all today, or something like that. And I think you have to be conscious of that prospect, that the vote respond to this by saying, yeah, here are the files. And if that's where we're headed on this, which could be, then why don't they do it right today?
Nope. I hear your point loud and clear. We played that clip a moment ago of Marjorie Taylor Greene on CNN with Dana Bash suggesting that she's been part of toxic politics and apologized for that. You heard the clip. I don't need to explain it. But I want to couple that with a new poll, John, that's out from NBC News, which finds that more than 6 in 10 registered voters believe that extreme political rhetoric, that is the phrase they were polled on, extreme political rhetoric was an important contributor to the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk earlier this year, including majorities of Democrats, Republicans, and independents. That's what this new poll finds. There are a number of ways I want to sort of pick that apart. But the top line, obviously, is that many fellow citizens, majority, 6 in 10, believe that extreme political rhetoric is leading to this kind of political violence in this country. And there are a few questions I have about this new poll for John Nichols, the executive editor of The Nation magazine. More with John when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. 14 people were charged in New Jersey in a mob-linked illegal sports betting ring. Attorney General Matthew Platkin.
Organized crime families seem to have a hard time breaking this old habit, so we're going to break it for them.
Prosecutors say Lucchese crime family member Joseph Little Joe Perna funded the operation run by his son, who recruited college students. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt granted last-minute clemency to Black death row inmate Tremaine Wood, sparing him from execution. Wood's sentence was commuted to life without parole after doubts about his role in a 2002 murder and his own brother's confession. And the late Lena Horne's former home in the St. Albans neighborhood of Queens, New York, is on the market for $1.22 million. The jazz legend lived there for decades, and the property remains a piece of music and civil rights history. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
It's the Black Friday of all Black Fridays now at Big O Tires. Buy 3, get 1 free on select tires with paid installation. Or get 50% off a full synthetic oil change and 20% off any repair service. It's Black Friday now through December 7th at your local Big O Tires.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
LeBron may be getting close to making his debut for his 23rd NBA season. LeBron was reassigned to the Lakers roster Sunday after practicing and scrimmaging for 4 days last week with the South Bay Lakers, the team's G League affiliate. LeBron will practice today with the Lakers. A decision could be made to put LeBron in the lineup for Tuesday's home game against Utah. LeBron has been out since training camp with a sciatic nerve condition in his lower back and left leg. The Rams took over first place in the NFC West after their 21-19 showdown win over Seattle at SoFi. Seattle kicker Jason Myers missed a 61-yard field goal attempt at the final buzzer. The 8-2 Rams intercepted Seattle quarterback Sam Darnold 4 times. The Chargers were embarrassed in Jacksonville Sunday. They lost 35-6. The Chargers dropped 7-4, 2 games behind Denver.
Lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher. I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, Member FINRA, Columbus,
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717. 973-9717.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-478-6430 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with John Nichols, who is the executive editor of The Nation magazine, and I'm delighted to have him on this program. As always, I mentioned moments ago this new poll from NBC News, John Nichols, that finds that majorities across parties say extreme political rhetoric was a contributor to Charlie Kirk's killing. I'm still not so sure I buy that, in part because I still don't think that we have all the evidence about why this guy who shot and killed him did so. Just like I'm looking for more evidence about Marjorie Taylor Greene's change of heart, I need more evidence relative to who this guy was that shot Charlie Kirk, why he did it, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm not necessarily sure that extreme political rhetoric is the cause of his murder. And yet, I am sensitive to, and I do want to wrestle with this notion that extreme political rhetoric is on the rise in this country, and that can, in fact, lead to political violence. What's your read, though, of the fact that, again, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents all say the same thing in this poll about the rise of extreme political rhetoric in this country?
Look, I think this poll, if you read it just for the words that you see there, I mean, you can come up with a lot of analysis, much of like what you've just said.
Sure.
But if you step back from it, what I think it says is that there are a lot of Americans who are simply concerned about the language that is used in our politics, right? Mm-hmm. And they may associate it with Charlie Kirk. They might, at some other time, if you told folks after the shooting of the two Minnesota legislators earlier this year, the murder of the leading Democrat in the state legislature in Minnesota, mm-hmm. By someone who appeared to be quite political, they might have said the same. I think they would have said much the same thing. Mm-hmm. Bottom line is, I think people are worried that we have kind of entered into a political sphere where instead of debate, instead of discourse, we have, just kind of a extreme, I'm trying to think of the right language here. We have an effort to win every debate by so diminishing your opponent, by so hating on your opponent that people will look at them as evil, right? And I think there is a rejection of this, and I think that's understandable. If I can leap to one of the things that just happened about a week ago,
sure.
Look at what occurred in New York. Zohran Mamdani, very young man, wins the Democratic nomination, then goes into this November race. The president of the United States is talking about him as a communist mm-hmm. and a horrible figure and somebody who's, you ought to look at his citizenship status, maybe not say, but allies of the president and others. Mm-hmm. And they, something of a mandate to go and do the things he's talking about doing. So, and that's just New York, I understand. But if you look at what happened in the New Jersey and Virginia gubernatorial races, again, you had, really extreme attacks on some of these candidates. And people seem to say, hold it, I can't believe this rhetoric. I don't approve. I'm just not going to go there. I'm not going to respond with fear. I'm going to actually try to sort this out. So I guess at the end of the day, I do think people are reacting to it. And I think that people are saying, look, we'd like a politics that can be very spirited, that can have deep differences, but isn't so destructive. Now, put that in one camp. That's one, response. And I think that's what people are trying to express. Mm-hmm. The other element is, of course, what you're getting to is we have entered into a space now where whenever there's violence that is targeted toward a political figure, immediately, almost before we begin to try and sort out what happened or to, kind of express our condolences, whatever, you see a kind of a rush to blame the other side.
Yep.
And the fact of the matter is that in many, many cases where someone commits an act of violence, it is because they are deeply troubled. It is because there are all sorts of other things going on in their life. It becomes more complex. And so I do think that your caution, right, your desire to hear more, to figure this out, is something that I wish our political elites and our media often would calm down and kind of get to.
Yeah.
So maybe the people are ahead. Maybe the people are ahead of the media and the political class in this regard, saying, hey, we want something different.
They usually are. they usually are.
They almost always are, my friend.
Yeah. I'll leave that right there. You mentioned New York, and I saw your piece, which I was fascinated to read, about fusion voting and how fusion voting opens up the fuller promise of democracy. Put a pin in that. I'm going to come back to that because I want John to just share a bit from this piece he wrote about fusion voting. We're reading and hearing a lot more about that as a way into the future. Again, as his title suggests, we can open up a fuller promise of democracy. I'll let John unpack this fusion voting piece that he wrote in a moment here. Before I do that, though, I do want to just get you on the record here. I have not had a chance to ask you this since it went down, but we're still processing the fallout of the way that government shutdown ended. These centrist Democrats are still maintaining that they had no choice but to craft a deal to end the shutdown. There was no viable alternative. That was the only deal on the table, so they felt they had to take it. That's what the centrist Democrats are saying. Progressives, of course, are extremely fed up. And I'm thinking of all those persons who were at those No Kings rallies, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just asking you in the next 2 or 3 minutes here to tell me what your read is at this point of the fallout. How do you see the fallout? I didn't see that coming. So now that I hear John Nichols saying, I don't think there's going to be a lot of fallout, Tavis. I want to give him time to express that. And so let me shut up right quick, do what I got to do. And when we come forward, give John a little bit more time to explain why he thinks there ain't going to be a whole lot of fallout. He didn't say ain't. I did. You're listening to John Nichols on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let me be clear about what we're witnessing here. A textbook case of talking about communities instead of talking with them. Pedro Pizarro, president and CEO of Edison International, found time this week to sit down with the LA Times to discuss their so-called fast pay program for those impacted by the Altadena-Eaton Canyon fire. We think it is neither fast nor fair, but when we organized the community town hall, Southern California Edison first confirmed participation and then abruptly canceled. There was no time available on Mr. Pizarro's calendar for a face-to-face conversation with the individuals and families who have lost everything due to the negligence of Southern California Edison. This is not an accident. This is a choice. about who deserves direct engagement and who gets managed through press statements. When you talk to the LA Times about people, you control the narrative. You get to frame the issues on your terms, with your spin, filtered through journalists who may or may not push back. But when you show up to a town hall, you face real questions from real people experiencing real problems. There's no PR buffer. There's real accountability. This pattern of being available to corporate media but unavailable for community dialogue sends a clear message about whose voices matter and whose don't. It's the kind of disrespect that hides behind busy schedules and prior commitments, but the community sees right through it. If these issues are important enough to discuss with the LA Times, they're important enough to discuss directly with the people living them. Anything less isn't just disrespectful, it's a fundamental failure of leadership and accountability. Mr. Pizarro says in the LA Times interview, I need to go to the supermarket in Pasadena or Altadena and be able to look people in the eye. We want to do the right thing for our community. You had a chance to look folk in the eye at our town hall meeting last week, but you didn't show up. And then we invited you for a one-on-one conversation here at the station, but you have yet to confirm. So please, please stop with the gaslighting. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. I mean... mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power...
of wine, guides in the know, and price is so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and John Nichols, executive editor of The Nation magazine. So I did not, as I said, see this coming. I asked John Nichols about the fallout from the way this shutdown ended with these Democrats caving. And John said, Tavis, my friend, my brother, I don't think there's going to be much fallout. Please unpack that for me, sir.
I will be glad to. Before I do, though, I'm going to have to say, I loved your editorial that you just had on there about the Edison exec.
Thank you.
Boy, I wish there were more people in media who would do that.
Yeah.
When somebody didn't show up for a meeting. That was powerful stuff.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So, thank you.
Much appreciated. Anyways, why I say there won't be a lot of fallout. Don't read me wrong here. I'm not sure there shouldn't be fallout. But I think a couple things are happening. One, we're moving so fast right now with so much coming at us and such deep divisions between folks who are with Trump and folks who don't agree with Trump, that I think that there has long been an understanding, a frustration with the fact that Democrats in Washington don't seem to get their act together. They don't know how to fight this. They haven't had clear messaging. They haven't been functional throughout most of this administration. And so as a result, the fact that this thing fell apart in the way that it did, with 8 so-called moderates, and siding with the Republicans to end this thing, and Schumer playing this game of saying, "Well, I'm going to vote no, but I understand why people vote yes," and sending all this mixed messages. I think that's almost what people expect now from Democrats in Washington. So when you ask me if there's going to be fallout, I'm going to tell you honestly, I think people, grassroots Democrats, have kind of moved beyond this, right? They know that their folks in Washington are not fighting effectively. That's why the approval rating of the Democratic Party is so low. By the same token, they've decided that Trump so troubles them, so frightens them, that they're still going to go vote. They're still going to go be active. And so where the dynamic comes in, and I think this has already developed, so that's why I say I don't know how much reaction you're going to see.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see some primaries around the country for U.S. Senate seats and for other positions where you are going to see a division on this. And it's already developed. It's kind of before the shutdown even occurred.
Yeah.
But that division is going to be between candidates who are backed by Chuck Schumer
Got it.
and the leadership
Yeah.
and candidates who have already come in as alternatives.
Yep. I said in conversation with some friends this weekend that I believe, I'm on the record now publicly, at least I will be in 30 seconds when this comes out of my mouth. I believe I believe that in my history, more Democrats are going to be primary next year than ever in my political history. What's your read of my assessment?
Already happening.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, you know
There
what
you
I
go.
mean?
There you go.
It's already in play.
Yeah.
We're seeing it in the, when you say primary, I'd extend it out and say there's open seats,
Sure,
right?
sure,
Or
sure.
there's positions where you're going to choose a candidate to oppose a Republican, things like that. So
Right.
if you look at this broad panoply of where Democrats are going to be nominated for the U.S. Senate and for the House, we've already seen people stepping up
Yeah.
all over the place. There are divisions all over. And I have to tell you, that's a complex thing. It comes both from a position of strength, but also a reality of division. Position of strength is there's a lot of people stepping up to run because they think they can win,
Yeah, yeah.
right? They do see and so there's an avenue.
Yeah.
But they're stepping up to run in two different ways. One group are saying, yeah, I think we can win the same way we've always done it, right? Kind of just say we're not the Republicans, vote for us.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's other people saying, no, we've crashed and burned on that theory too often.
Yeah.
What we have to say is, yes, we are opposed to where the Republicans are at, but we are also opposed to a status quo that somehow muddles along month after month, year after year, doesn't get us the health care we need, doesn't make our lives affordable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I think that's what you saw with Mamdani.
No.
I think so. It's what you're seeing with this Maine Senate race, which is a clear Schumer versus non-Schumer divide.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see the same thing in Minnesota. I think you may see it play out in Illinois.
Yeah.
So the dynamics of the politics are going to reinforce your statement unquestionably.
No, I'm laughing internally because remember the young guy David Hogue and all the trouble he got into as number vice president, whatever, first vice president, second vice president, whatever his title is, at the DNC. David Hogue got in trouble for saying his outside organization was going to raise money to primary certain Democrats. And all this bloodletting came to the fore inside the DNC. Well, you don't need David Hogue now. I mean, this is going to happen. As John said, it's already happening with or without David Hogue saying that his organization is going to raise money to primary Democrats. People are just jumping on their own because they're sick of these milquetoast and spineless Democrats. I digress. When we come forward in the remaining moments with John Nichols, we'll let him say a word about fusion voting and why and how he believes that this could open up the fuller promise of democracy for all of us. So he writes in The Nation. You're listening to John Nichols on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom. What make you? Yeah.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and John Nichols. I've got 3 minutes here, a tight 3, John. Talk to me about fusion voting and why you think that is the answer to our prayer.
Well, I don't think it's the only answer, my friend.
Yeah.
In fact, we're gonna be praying a lot for a lot of things. but you know that.
Yeah.
But fusion voting, they use it in New York. It's a system that allows different parties to endorse the same candidate. So on the ballot line, you can vote for somebody as a Democrat, or you can vote for somebody as a Working Families Party candidate, i.e., there's a way to vote for on another line, provide a pool of votes, and send a message to a candidate that you're not satisfied with the Democratic Party, you're not satisfied with where they're at. Now, this can happen on the right, too. It could be a conservative party versus the Republicans, right? So you've got these different avenues by which to do this. And I will tell you that in New York, it's very notable that on Tuesday, November 4th, most people voted Democratic. Then a bunch of people voted for, Cuomo, who was running as an independent. The third party in New York was not the Republicans.
Yeah.
It was the Working Families Party. It got a better part of 150,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
I think fusion voting opens things party there.
Yeah.
And so that inside-outside strategy, I think, gives some flexibility to our politics.
I love it. The piece is called Fusion Voting, opens up the fuller promise of democracy. You can read it in The Nation magazine by the executive editor of The Nation magazine, John Nichols, our guest in this hour. Just wanted to clarify, I was reaching for it, couldn't recall exactly what it was. David Hogg was the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. I said first vice president. I didn't know what it was. But he was the vice chair of the DNC. He resigned from that position in June, or earlier this year in June. His outside organization is called Leaders We Deserve, and that's the group that he was saying he was going to use to raise money to primary Democrats across the country. But at this point, as I said, he ain't the only one doing that. Democrats are going to get primaried in races they don't expect to be primaried in next year, because people, again, are just sick of the spinelessness of this party on so many issues. I digress on that for now. I just wanted to clarify the David Hogg piece. John Nichols, appreciate you. Love you, man. We'll talk again soon. Thanks for your insights as always.
Love you a lot, and keep doing those great editorials, my friend.
I appreciate you. You're kind to say that. That's Cornel West is up next, top of the next hour. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. 14 people were charged in New Jersey in a mob linked illegal sports betting ring. Attorney General Matthew Platkin.
Organized crime families seem to have a hard time breaking this old habit, so we're going to break it for them.
Prosecutors say Lucchese crime family member Joseph Little Joe Perna funded the operation run by his son, who recruited college students. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt granted last-minute clemency to Black death row inmate Tremaine Wood, sparing him from execution. Wood's sentence was commuted to life without parole after doubts about his role in a 2002 murder and his own brother's confession. And the late Lena Horne's former home in the St. Albans neighborhood of Queens, New York, is on the market for $1.22 million. The jazz legend lived there for decades, and the property remains a piece of music and civil rights history. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
It's the Black Friday of all Black Fridays now at Big O Tires. Buy 3, get 1 free on select tires with paid installation, or get 50% off